Former special counsel Robert Mueller says Russia is meddling in the 2020 election right now. He made the remark during his second hearing yesterday with the House Intelligence Committee.
Analysts say Mueller appeared stronger and more at ease during this hearing as opposed to the first one earlier in the day with the House Judiciary panel. He called for more coordination between federal agencies to combat foreign interference in U.S. elections.
In your investigation, did you think that this was a single attempt by the Russians to get involved in our election, or did you find evidence to suggest they'll try to do this again?
No, it wasn't a single attempt. They're doing it as we sit here, and they expect to do it during the next campaign.
All right, so CBS News intelligence and national security reporter Olivia Gazis is following everything from Washington and joining us this morning. Olivia, we're going to go through the highlights now. Just walk us through Mueller's demeanor and some of the key exchanges during the House Intelligence hearing.
Well, Anne-Marie, I'm actually glad that you played that exchange in particular because it was one of the rare moments where Mueller, rather than shutting down, appeared to open up, and there was this more robust back and forth when the topic came to ongoing foreign interference. And his repeated emphasis on this point, that Russia has engaged in a broad, systematic incursion into our democratic and political processes, really suggests, at least to me, that he wishes that that were the headline coming out of all of this. That point, they are doing it as we sit here, was coupled with a revelation in an exchange later that the FBI has still open some counterintelligence matters stemming from his probe. And it all shows, I think, how little resolution these issues have met with and why the country needs to stay on its guard.
It's a great point that you make there, Olivia. The president could have, in that gaggle that he did with reporters yesterday, say, look, whatever he says, I've been vindicated. This is a great moment for the Republican Party. But I want to focus our attention on what the Russians are trying to do now. The issue seems to be that by saying that, you sort of give legitimacy to what Robert Mueller has said, which is that the Russians did attempt to put their finger on the scale in favor of the president of the United States. So what are intelligence agencies and Congress doing right now? Because they can sort of act independently of the president to safeguard our election.
Right, absolutely right, Vlad, because, if there's one area where the normally sort of soft-spoken, to not say secretive, intelligence and law enforcement agencies are over-communicative right now, it's on this election security front. In just the past several days, we've heard about these new entities and roles being stood up. So the Director of National Intelligence announced a new election threats executive charged with sort of coordinating intelligence efforts across multiple agencies. The NSA created a new cybersecurity directorate to defend against foreign adversaries in particular. And there's more involvement that we hear about from the FBI, the Department of Homeland Security, the Department of Defense. There is this recognition that because the threat is so vast and so multifaceted and, what's called the threat surface is broadening, it requires vigilance and intervention from across the government. So they're very active on that front. Congress, a little bit less so.
So, Olivia, another exchange that's getting some attention is Mueller's response to questions about President Trump and Donald Trump Jr. repeatedly praising stolen WikiLeaks material. We can't forget the president on the campaign trail. I love WikiLeaks, asking WikiLeaks, can you please uncover some more emails for me? So this is what Robert Mueller had to say.
This WikiLeaks is like a treasure trove. Donald Trump, October 31st, 2016. Boy, I love reading those WikiLeaks. Donald Trump, November 4th, 2016. Do any of those quotes disturb you, Mr. Director?
Problematic is an understatement in terms of what it displays, in terms of giving some, hope or some boost to what is and should be illegal activity.
So those stolen WikiLeaks emails and whether people in the Trump administration the campaign knew about them ahead of time was sort of a centerpiece of the Mueller investigation. So sort of walk us through that and why, Mueller's answer is so important.
Sure. This was another rare moment of candor from the former director, because in the beginning of this exchange, Congressman Quigley had him agree with former CIA Director Mike Pompeo's description of WikiLeaks as a hostile intelligence service. And of course, his own investigation seemed to bear that out. As you recall, WikiLeaks published this trove of emails that were hacked from the Democratic National Convention and from Hillary Clinton's campaign chairman, and they were leaked at moments that were critical in the 2016 campaign. Mueller's own investigation, of course, found that The hackers who were behind it were, in fact, Russian intelligence officers, and his team indicted 12 of them last July. So his investigation and U.S. intelligence agencies have since concluded that Russia was doing this in order to boost Trump's chances of winning. So the fact that he and potentially other members of his campaign would encourage, even if it was unknowingly, that kind of foreign intervention, that's precisely why Mueller was calling it problematic, and he said it should potentially be illegal.
And when you say key sort of moments in the campaign, I believe the first release was literally the day after the Access Hollywood tape was released. So it shifted the conversation
And on the eve of the
immediately.
Democratic National Convention. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Olivia, let me ask you about this. Robert Mueller suggested that the FBI has ongoing investigations stemming from his special counsel inquiry. So what are you learning about what the agency is looking into?
Yes, this was definitely a moment that piqued a lot of people's interests, and it happened during an exchange with Congressman Krishnamurthy when he asked Mueller how lying could make U.S. officials, in particular he was talking about former National Security Advisor Mike Flynn, how those officials could become vulnerable to blackmail when they're caught in a lie. Mueller didn't engage much on this front, but because he tipped his hand a little bit, because he said that there are many elements of the FBI that are looking into this. And when he was asked if that is currently happening, he confirmed that it was. The FBI, of course, does not typically divulge anything about its ongoing investigations, and these would be extraordinarily sensitive. So we'll have to see what else it will be willing to say on that front.
All right, Olivia Gazis for us. Olivia, great reporting. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Vlad and Emery.